What's up, my friends? So here's my question of the day. Should we not, quote, platform certain people for their views because we disagree with them? This is something that I hear come up again and again. It's such a contentious issue among a lot of not just YouTubers, but anybody in the media. If you dare have somebody on your channel that speaks from the other viewpoint, alternate from your audience, you are considered to be platforming. This is something that a lot of the times, let's just say, extremely right wing people would be the ones to not want to platform somebody who's what they consider to be evil or a Satanist, right? But there's also the issue, especially recently, of a lot of liberals not wanting to, quote, platform somebody who they consider to be a Nazi or a hater. And I have really seen this reach such a fevered pitch. It's to the point now where I'm very curious to see where all of this is going. It's not something that bothers me because um, I know that voices that need to be heard will always come through. It's no different from any type of book burning or banning in the past, which has always been something that I've been opposed to. But I do understand that there are exceptions. I'm just not here to discuss what those exceptions might be. One example might be what kind of books are available for our kids to read, right? We want our children to be smart enough, just like when they're watching horror movies when they're young kids. You want to have some tact and give them the ability to learn the world before they watch these things or read these things so they understand them better. But for adults, I say the sky's the limit. And I don't believe in any type of censorship or oppression. I think if people have voices that they want heard, they should be able to speak those voices, no matter how irrational, no matter how hateful or abusive they are. The only limits I would put on that would be things like doxing, personal bullying, and harassment to individuals. This is where you have to draw the line. And this is not, that doesn't mean bullying as in just calling them a name on the internet, but actual, physical or harassment of any type where, each issue, let's just say each region, each place, each community is going to have to deal with that issue on their own, what they think is important, and each particular case as well. But all in all, when it comes to just viewpoints on life, viewpoints on race, viewpoints on gender, all these things, vaccines, whatever it might be, the fact that people would ban any group of people from speaking, to me, just shows a fear more than anything. A fear that if certain information is discussed, that it might reflect badly on others. And what you'll find is, most of the time, when information is suppressed, or let's just say a person's discussion or people are suppressed, it's because either A, they have something to say that certain people don't want them to talk about and just make it miserable for them, or B, much more often today, the person has some extreme opinions on one topic, but in general, their topics are pretty mild and mundane. So therefore, they are shouted out or harassed and forced to leave their speech. Now, this has happened on a lot of college campuses. And a few years back when it started, I didn't think it was that bad. In fact, I supported a lot of these students for not letting, not letting people say hateful things, where they would cut them off when they started speaking a bunch of nonsense. But part of me said also, well, the people who wanted to be in that speech wanted to be there. So there's the freedom of the speech of the person on stage and the freedom of speech of the students who are protesting it. However, there has to be some sort of a reasonable safety for people who want to speak to a group. If you don't want to hear it, don't fucking go. And so not allowing people to speak because they're conservatives and not allowing them on campus, to me, is one of the most absurd things. And here's the thing. Debates used to be very respectful and tactful. You could have two people of completely differing viewpoints, Walter Cronkite interviewing them You could go back to the 60s and the 70s. Some of these movies or documentaries and newscasts where they would, spend a half an hour interviewing two different people and or having a group conversation in a college campus, which was about very contentious issues. You know, the whole male female and women's rights and um, as well as racial issues. And these young kids who are able to articulate how they feel about these issues and disagree on them and do so respectfully and calmly. And this isn't me saying those are the good old days. This is looking back on, wow, these conversations could take place in a time when a lot of folks think that everybody was just fighting. Our view on history is completely backwards. There has been a lot of progress made in this country, for example, on, you know, uh, any type of division and racism, sexism. We've changed the way that workplaces function. We've tried so many different things to improve our society. And often we don't give enough credit to that. But we're so sensitive about these topics now. And this has really only gotten bad really bad in the last like 5-10 years. And I don't know how much the internet plays a role. I think people have become oversensitive and really think that these groups of hateful people represent more of society than they actually do. I mean, you got a group of guys marching with tiki torches and dockers and khaki pants and their stupid collared polo shirts, and everybody freaks out for years on end talking about it. It's like, well, yeah, you've got the internet. You can send out a message to, hey, everyone come join us, and there might be 1,000 people, but there's 300 million in this country. So if 1,000 people show up to something and feel that strongly about it, wow, that's impressive. But when you have 300,000 times that amount of people that didn't go, then it's yeah, we have a very false view of how numbers and stats work, and I'm not any more privy to the facts and figures than anyone else. I do my best to inform myself on these topics, but what I've found mostly is by observation and seeing how people react to other people's speeches. And I've seen liberals, which I am a liberal myself, but I'm embarrassed by these leftists who have these protests where they basically sit and ridicule the opponent. They will have these ad hominem attacks, and just, it's embarrassing. You just want to like shrink in your seat and go, wow, these people represent, the left, the good side. What happened? When did the left and the right switch places? And there was one interview, it was Malcolm Gladwell, who was on stage with Douglas Murray. Douglas Murray is I think he's from the UK. I'm not sure. Maybe Australian. I don't know. But he's a gay white dude that's a conservative, or at least very right leaning, but he's more liberal in his views. It's just he gets really cast as a conservative. And then there's Malcolm Gladwell, who was arguing with him, and this discussion was just so embarrassing for Malcolm, sitting up on stage in front of this whole audience and just getting owned by this guy with facts and logic. And facts and logic are coming much more from people who are conservative minded. Now, I don't say that to say I'm taking the red pill and I'm conservative now. Never. I think mostly what the conservatives bring to the table is garbage, just like what the Democrats bring. The point isn't what a political party brings. The point is more about whether you're left or right leaning, and we have to define those parameters somehow. So we do that by, I guess, societal standards. I can't sit here and lay out all the different, differences, obviously, but we all know what they are. And when you're in the middle, independent thinker, it's very hard to see both sides struggling to understand that we all really want the same thing. We all care about a good life for our family and our friends, to not fear the government stepping on our fucking shit, to not fear our neighbors getting in our shit, which means we require some sort of a police force, either that or a neighborhood watch group. This is why people were upset with, these extreme left people talking about abolishing the police. If you don't lay out your parameters for what you're actually trying to do, people get scared. They don't want the cops gone. They're cops. They help to protect their communities. So it's a matter of working this out together as communities. And stop being so petty and just try to understand each other a little better. Anyway, I'm running out of camera space, so that's all I got for now. I'll see y'all next time. Be well.